My name's Kevin Flynn with Tenable. I've been in security business while I was still this tall, but my hair wasn't as gray, so I've been around for a while. And one of the more interesting things about what has happened in security over the last few years, I can put it like 3 to 4 to 5, whatever, is this notion of how we sort of bring all of these things together. Now, if you look, there's like 100 yards of security products here. You go to like an RSA show, there'll be acres of security products. All well, all good. What we're talking, though, is how do you start bringing these things together? How do you start looking at things in various silos and looking at it as more as an exposure management issue? Because that's really what you're dealing with is, where am I exposed, and what do I need to do first to reduce that exposure? Then a key part of that is how the cloud security fits into that, because you can't really have these things split up. Because if you look at the attack surface now, you've got on-prem, you've got internet-facing, you've got web apps, you've got the public cloud, you have OT stuff, you have identity stuff, and what is happening is all of this stuff is growing. To say it's dynamic is an understatement. And they are interconnected. I mean, I've got a phone here, it's got Google Doc on it. That's going out to the cloud. Is that a mobile thing? Is that a cloud thing? It's going back to my desktop at the office while I work from home. So is that a mobile thing? Is that an on-prem thing? Who really cares? It shouldn't care, but what we kind of do is we have these silos. But if you look at what is happening, and this is a really interesting slide. Look at on-prem, internet-facing assets, web apps, public, everything I just said, key disasters for certain companies. The Panama Papers, Equifax, WannaCry, what we're doing with anything with ransomware and manipulating Active Directory. All of these things are part of the attack surface, and all of these things are attacked. I mean, lots and lots and lots of times. So what it has to do is bring these things together. Now, the problem is you don't have this visibility into the attack surface, into the entire attack surface. The attack surface isn't siloed. My phone is not different from the GDoc or the Oracle app or the AWS implementation that Tenable uses. But the security solutions are. I mean, look at it. There's 100 yards worth of security solutions here. Resource limitations, time and money are never, inexhaustible. Comprehensive metrics, what is happening? And then, what do I tell my boss? When they ask, how secure are we? Is this thing secured? Is the GDPR regulation? So something, Facebook was just fined, I think, $700 million yesterday for violating, in essence, the GDPR regulations in Europe. The Irish agencies got after them. So how do you start communicating that at a board level and down into the depths of the organization? So what we're looking at here is more context, better decisions. If you don't know what's happening, you can't decide what to do. Less reactive, more preventative. I mean, my mother used to say, an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. So we're talking about the preventive stuff. You still want cure, obviously, but we're talking about the preventive angle on this side. And obviously better communication and better outcomes. So because the ability to go to your boss and to be able to say, hey, we're at X% or X number in this quarter and it's 15% better than last quarter, that's information they can use. And that's information the CISO and the senior executives can use as they talk to people who don't know anything about security. Cloud instances and Kubernetes and CVEs and et cetera, is gibberish to most of the people who really, really care about this information. So having clear, concise metrics that can be easily articulated is critical. So the building blocks of this, one is, what are you doing? Where are your security technologies? Understand your visibility. Can I see things or not? It's like the unknown unknowns are the most dangerous things. Prioritization of efforts, you can't do everything. You have to start looking at AI and machine learning techniques to identify what is most important that I should pay attention to today, and how do I track that? Because how many tens of thousands of new vulnerabilities come out every year? How are we doing? We told people to patch this. Did they patch it? I don't know. You need to be able to find out if they did that, and then be able to communicate and then take action. Now, It's not easy, particularly in a large organization, particularly when you have siloed organizations. The cloud people are here, the on-prem people are there, the mobile people are there, the Europeans are here, the North American people are there. But it is approaching a place where you get a good integration of that. And how many people are familiar with Tenable? Good, thank you. If you haven't heard of Tenable, you probably have had and used Nessus, the vulnerability scanner. So we've been doing for 20 years, we've been looking at software CVEs and saying, this is a vulnerability, what can I do, how do I patch it, where do I patch it, and then see if it's been patched. Now, when we talked about that attack surface, CVE vulnerabilities are one part of that. Cloud misconfigurations, and that's why we're here, talk about cloud misconfigurations. The web apps, that's not a CVE, but did I construct this wrong? Identity misconfiguration. I mean, ransomware attacks take advantage of misconfigured Active Directory and wreak havoc. And then unknown assets. You can't fix what you don't know about. So what we've done is move from this, hey, we're going to find your vulnerabilities and tell you where to patch, to expanding that, partly through acquisitions, partly through our own creative work on our engineering team, to give a much better holistic context, business-aligned KPIs, comprehensive benchmarking, so you can start to say, how's North America doing versus Europe? How's our cloud doing in Azure versus, not usually a word, Azure versus AWS? How are we doing against other financial service companies? How are we doing against education companies? If we're in education, how are we doing versus real sharp financial services benchmarking? So it's both internal and external peer benchmarking so you get an understanding of what to do, and recommended actions. Do this today, and this will solve X, Y, Z problems. And so what we've done is combine all these things. We just introduced a product that combines the vulnerability management, web app security, cloud, identity, and external attack surface management into a package. But rather than just sell it as a bundle, it's a comprehensive approach where you're getting this kind of information for the cloud, you're getting this kind of information for your vulnerability assets. You're getting the same kind of thing for identity security and understanding that and wrapping that up. So from there, you get this view of an aggregated risk insights into what you're doing. How am I doing? Attack pathways. Can I go from here to there? No. Oh, out. Wait. You're not supposed to be able to go from here to there. Plug it. And then, critically, an asset inventory of all of these assets. So what you're trying to do now is getting an attack surface and exposure management system, a platform that brings in all of these things, gives you an overall view of things, and then sort of a meta view, so to speak, on your assets, the pathways, and risk insights. Now, it's a long discussion. I could spend hours on each of these things, but this is AWS Ignite, so I'm just going to talk about cloud security here and what we're doing. So what we've done, and just diving a little bit deeper into one aspect of that, is the cloud vulnerability assessments, posture management, container images, infrastructure as code, DevOps integrations with the kind of things you'd expect for the kind of deployments that you guys are doing. So very, very comprehensive cloud security as part of a much larger package. So the ability, I'm not going to read all these things straightforward, but basically you can scan it and view it. The same kind of thing you're doing with you've been doing for your vulnerabilities, you're also now doing that really easily for your cloud deployments. You're prioritizing threats, and that becomes really important now. It's rather than just saying you've got a lot of problems, it's saying you have these problems and these are the most important problems. Live threat results, a lot of threat intelligence coming through, lowering the mean time to remediate, automatic compliance reporting, critical here, so say, hey, we are doing this. And then last but far from least is stop the risky deployments from ever being deployed. I mean, everyone here who's in the cloud security business is worried about people just sort of spinning something up, unbeknownst to you, unbeknownst to if they knew anything about what they're doing. It's not a small problem. The risk prevention, stopping those kinds of things before they get deployed is critical here. So, I'm not going to do a demo on this, but in essence, you got all this critical asset visibility into all your cloud deployments. The details on that, the configuration, the vulnerabilities that exist there, the misconfigs, the drifts, the remediations that are necessary, all in one package. That is one component of your larger exposure management platform. Because having these things in siloed it's self-defeating. If the cloud folks just deal with cloud and the other people just deal with their stuff and the Active Directory people deal with theirs, if they're not communicating with a common language and metrics, you're really losing half the battle. Now, what's really cool, and we have a booth over here. Ray, where's our booth? Right over there. Holly, Ray, thank. The booth's right over there. You can see this more in demo. But basically, it's an agentless assessment of AWS. You're not going to have to put an agent on every single instance of AWS you have out there. What you do then is onboarding all of your accounts and users in minutes. I mean, some of this stuff almost sounds too good to be true, but you have a longer discussion there at the booth. Continuous visibility, vulnerability updates with live results, bringing in threat intelligence is low impact and no added costs. We're doing our own technology, eliminating the need to mount and snore just snapshot. It's a continuous process here. And again, this is part of a much larger process on your exposure management. Again, we're not segregating these things and putting them in silos. So, clouds, I'm leaving time. I've got 3 minutes left, and I want somebody here to win an Apple Watch, so I got to talk fast and take questions. So, first things first, just wrapping up here. Think of what you're doing here. Complete visibility. You're prioritizing what you should do based on true risk. You're getting in threat intelligence. These are the things that people are attacking. Protect that first. And then enforcing compliance from the cloud, from code to the cloud. So, thank you very much. Again, lightning talks. There's a lot of information we have over at our booth.